Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of the House Whisperer on WWDB Talk 860. This is the show where every house has a story, and we've got the guy that tells you the stories, Jack Milne, a professional home inspector, and he knows all about a house from the roof to the basement and everything in between. Hey, Jack, how you doing? You just got back from your exciting motorcycle trip. Welcome back.
Well, thank you, Barry. Yeah, fantastic trip. Personally, I logged about 2,700 miles in about 11 days.
Wow. You went down to what, to Kentucky?
Yeah, we shot down to Kentucky and have a bunch of friends that we do this on an annual basis. And this year we had riders from California, Michigan, Canada, Vermont, Maine, Long Island, western part of New York. I mean, all over the place. And we converged in this small village called Pineville, Kentucky. And
how about that? Well, it sounds like you had a good time.
Yeah, it's good to be back. But it's one of those trips that allows you to sit back and think and reflect. And every once in a while, you just have to take a break mentally.
You got that right. Well, you've got a terrific subject for today. One that, as I told you off the air, is very important to me because I might be doing what you're going to be talking about. So why don't you take it away? I know you like to thank your sponsors first, and then we'll let you go right into your subject of the day.
Sounds great, Barry. And today's topic is driveways.
Yes, and I have one that is starting to crack.
Well, yeah, so that's what this show is about. It's going to be about the types and the maintenance that is involved with each style. So, but like you said, Barry, I do like to thank my sponsors because without them I wouldn't be on the air today. So, Bucksmont Inspections, Rob Bowie, anything and everything that deals with on-site sewage systems, and or if you're one of those homes and homeowners that have a macerator in your basement, which is essentially a human waste grinder, I do suggest to my clients that you get a pump alarm for that. And that's something that Bucksmont Inspections can't put in for you, because if that pump fails, you only have about 40 gallons of waste that will eventually overflow.
How lovely.
To make a disaster in your basement. Yeah. So reach out to Rob Bowie at 215-669-4213. Burrow Exterminating out of Glenolden, Pennsylvania. Great company. We had Rob on just a couple weeks ago. And if you're starting to notice carpenter ants or carpenter bees because of the change in weather patterns, get Rob out so that he can exterminate those bugs before they start laying larvae. And before you know that, woodpeckers are then knocking on your door, or they're knocking on your siding or your deck, because they love the larvae as a snap-appetizer. So you can reach out to Rob at 610-586-5640. Pest Blaster, 215-295-5555. If you're hearing strange noises over your ceiling in your bedroom, not quite sure what it was, a bit apprehensive to go and find out what it is, in fact, call Pest Blaster, because not only do they deal with pest removal, but they are also involved in radon and mold and wood-destroying insects. So they do cover it all, and they're a great sponsor for me. BrainFleshGear.com, again, I contracted through those folks for my trip to Kentucky, and they really helped not only me, but my motorcycle mates with some really cool clothing this year. So they don't have a number, but they do have an email, and that's contact@brainfleshgear.com. And finally, my company, Tri-County Inspection Company. We serve 15 counties in the Lehigh Valley as well as Delaware Valley. For me, it's easiest to go to the website, which is tcinspect.com. But if you want to pick up the phone, 215-295-2030, North Jersey, 609-882-5188. And if you're one of the lucky folks up there in the Lehigh Valley, 610-346-7880. So the email box, I've kind of stayed away from it, not intentionally, but I'm really dedicating today's segment from a gentleman by the name of Curtis, who's from Germantown. And it was his driveway that's in front of his 90-year-old home that's a combination of worn concrete, worn asphalt, and gravel. And his letter, I'm paraphrasing, went something like this. Jack, I've heard your show over the past several months. I've got this driveway that needs to be replaced. Can you do a show on available types and styles? So, Curtis, I hope you're listening because this one is yours. And for any requests or topics that you would like to hear as a listener, please email me at thehousewhisperershow@gmail.com, or you can visit recent as well as archive shows at thehousewhisperershow.com. And Curtis, if by chance you missed the show, everybody can podcast at www.dbam.com. Scroll through until you find the House Whisperer, click it on, and you can hear my voice anytime. And I got to tell you, Barry, that was one of the things as we were sitting on the front porch down there in Kentucky that, some of my motorcycle mates were actually able to hear the show, and it was just awesome.
It's amazing. It's amazing the way things have changed, that you could actually listen to a radio station in Philadelphia all the way down in Kentucky, coming loud and clear.
Yeah, it was, everyone was just smiling and listening, so that was really neat. So let's go to Curtis's topic, driveways and maintenance involved. So, Curtis, from what I'm reading, your driveway has kind of reached the end of its normal useful life, so the best thing to do is to start fresh. So what you want to do is hire a driveway specialist, either asphalt or concrete, and I'm going to touch on each of those later, but bottom line, the result is still going to be the same. We have to start with excavation. So what we want to do is remove all evidence of your former driveway. If room is tight for pulling in or out of the street, you may want to consider what we call a wider curb cut. So not only are we going to think about replacing your driveway, but we may want to consider changing the access to the driveway, because this is going to be the time. And the other thing to think about is widening the driveway. So if right now your wife pulls behind you and you have to leave, then do you have to first move your wife's car so that you can get your car out? Why don't you think about creating maybe a slight angle off your curb cut and then be able to slide up against or next to your wife's car? And so this is the time to give this really, again, some serious consideration. If you have to back out of a garage and be able to back out and then pull forward to go to the street, you need at least 30 feet from your garage apron to the end of the driveway to complete that task. And sometimes I encourage my clients to even extend the driveway even a little bit further back, just one car width wide and back and length. And this affords you to pull back completely, because it's really not safe to back out of your driveway. You should always pull forward out of your driveway, make a left, make a right, and be on your way. So let's say we've gone ahead, we've got the contractor in, and all remnants of your existing driveway are gone. So we decided to do the curb cut. We decided to extend the driveway. So the first thing that the mechanic is going to do is put down what we call 4 inches of 4-inch ballast. So this is a fairly big stone, and they're going to roll it down, and they're going to smooth it out. They're going to get it everywhere where this new border is going to be created. And then what they're going to do is put another 3/4 inch, what they call modified stone, which is a combination of stone and not quite sand, but it's a very fine type powder. And that will be rolled over the 4 inches of ballast. So if you think you want to expand the driveway, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit. When I did mine, Curtis, I expanded my driveway in October. And then I had my contractor put in the 4 inches of ballast and the 4 inches of 3/4 inch modified. And then I drove over it on a regular basis through the winter. And then come spring, when they went ahead and removed the rest of my driveway, it was already tamped down and ready for paving. So it affords you a little bit of time. So the other thing I did, and I think this turns out nice too, is I used railroad ties to border the driveway, so that this way, when they're starting to run the asphalt, they have a border, so it doesn't land up on your lawn, or you don't end up with what I call rollover. And rollover is where it doesn't have a finish, and because of the weight of the vehicles and the spreading of the asphalt, you end up getting hairline cracks along the edges of your asphalt. So simple 4x4 railroad ties is a nice complement, and it keeps it really easy as to when you do your edging or lawn cutting. So that doesn't cost much, but it's a nice move. It also keeps any mulch or grass or any other landscaping techniques from washing over, and onto your driveway. So now that it's laid out, what options are available? So let's talk asphalt first, okay? First off, you're going to need to have the contractor install really the two types of asphalt. The first is what we call a binder coat, and this is what's installed over your 3/4 inch modified as well as your 4-inch base coat. And this gets installed about anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch in thickness. And then you go with the finish coat. And the finish coat is like a 1/4 inch to a 3/8 inch fine stone. So they're going to put the 1/2 to 3/4 inch stone first down with the tar, and then they're going to roll it, and then they're going to put the finish coat of asphalt over top of that. So by the time that you're done, you want to have a good 2.5 to 3 inches of asphalt over your initial stone base.
I'll tell you what, can we just take a little break here and come back and talk more about the, I don't know if you have more about asphalt, but I know you have a lot of other topics related to driveways, and we'll take a quick break. You're listening to the House Whisperer Show on WWDB. Jack Milne is here, as always, and a really, really great topic for today. We'll be back right after this.
Boro Exterminating has been specializing in wood-destroying insect inspection and control for over 40 years, serving Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. All inspectors are state certified and ensure providing their clients with professional inspections and treatments. Boro not only performs conventional termite treatments, but also handles special services like historic buildings and homes with wells, creeks, or ponds. The client is assured that all treatments will be performed safely when you hire Boro to do the work. They also provide radon testing in their service area. Boro's full-time office staff is available to help you schedule an appointment. Just call 610-586-5640 or send an email request to boroinspects@verizon.net. That's 610-586-5640 or email at boroinspects@verizon.net.
Specially created t-shirts by BrainFlushGear.com offer the extreme sports enthusiast an opportunity to have a clothing line available that suits their sport. BrainFlushGear.com understands that when we get the moment where we can jump on our motorcycles, wave runners, surfboards, snowmobiles, or skateboards, it can be priceless. They offer custom artwork including silk screening, transfers, and embroidery. Speak to one of their consultants today, and they'll help you create your own Brain Flush. Visit BrainFlushGear.com or email them at contact@BrainFlushGear.com.
For your septic inspection and testing needs, please consider Bucksmont Inspections. They've been serving the Bucks and Montgomery County areas for over 15 years. As members of the Pennsylvania Septic Management Association, the Pennsylvania Association of Sewage Enforcement Officers, and the Pennsylvania Association for Professional Soil Scientists, Bucksmont Inspections can inspect your existing septic system or test for your new septic system placement. Please call Rob Bowie at 215-669-4213 and say you heard their ad on the House Whisperers Show.
As the temperatures gradually rise, so do the odds of all those filthy and unwanted critters invading your home like rodents, roaches, termites, and flies. Oh my! This summer, if you want to feel safe and secure from a possible creeping, crawling disaster, do yourself a favor and call the exterminating experts at Pest Blaster for all your pest control needs, including tests for radon and mold. Please visit pestblaster.com and you'll be sold. 215-295-5555.
Tri-County Inspection Company has been providing professional home inspections, commercial inspections, and historic property evaluations for over 25 years. Tri-County Inspection Company covers 13 counties, serving both New Jersey and Pennsylvania. They've performed inspections for over 70,000 clients and are members of the American Society of Home Inspectors, as well as the Pennsylvania Home Inspectors Coalition. They are licensed in both Philadelphia and New Jersey. For all of your real estate transactions, call Tri-County Inspections at 215-295-2030. For their New Jersey clientele, call 856-853-4224. In PA, call 215-295-2030. In New Jersey, 856-853-4224.
Our house is a very, very, very fine house with 2 cats in the yard. Life used to be so hard. Now everything is easy 'cause of...
And we're back once again. Jack Milne, the House Whisperer, is here talking about a very important topic. Don't think about it that often until you have to. And there are, from what I'm learning from Jack, all different kinds of driveways. And right now, Jack is talking about asphalt. So, Jack, pick it up where we left off before the break.
Well, thank you, Barry. Yeah, we were talking about tearing out driveways, and now we have our finish code applied. But you do want to discuss any drainage issues that you may have on site, be it gutters, downspouts, grading, etc. Because the beauty of asphalt is that it can be pitched to drain away from the home. And in particular, you do want to check with your municipality for what we call the impervious surface ratio. And impervious surface means that besides your house and your walkways and your driveway, in my area, there's an 18% impervious surface. So the township doesn't want to hear 18. They'll take 17.9. So if you're planning on expanding the driveway, make sure that you check with your municipality as to how far you can expand that impervious surface ratio. Now, driveways also can get beat up depending on placement. So if it's in the shade, your driveway is going to last a lot longer than if it's in the sun. And an asphalt driveway should be recoated approximately every 2 to 4 years to protect the driveway from what we call the UV rays of the sun. So just like you, if you're sitting on the beach, you got to put on some lotion. Well, at the same time, your driveway's got to be recoated. And this can be done by either a professional or it can be done by yourself. And what you want to do is measure your driveway, and whatever that square footage is, by 10% more than you may need. Because if you have extra, you can always bring it back. But the worst thing is that you're in the middle of the project and you run short. So now you got to change your shoes, you got to change your clothes if need be, and then you got to pick up some more. So personally, I like to screed the driveway. That's almost like using a rubber mop because it fills any cracks better than a spray. And the coating tends to be a little bit thicker too, but get quotes both ways. So let's say your driveway actually is in pretty decent shape, but what you want to do because of cracking and alligation is you want to do a 1-inch top coat. Now this is where the contractor will excavate back from your apron in front of your garage, the apron down by your curb cut, and any walkways, so that the new asphalt will actually bond to those locations better. And it's literally adding 1 inch of fresh binder on top of your existing driveway. And so that's a nice way to get away, fairly inexpensive. But then again, please don't forget about doing that resealing because that'll keep that driveway always fresh. So finishing with asphalt, let's move to concrete. Now, bottom line, the cost of concrete is going to be about 3 times higher than asphalt, but it will last 30 to 40 years. So roughly a 20 by 40 driveway can run between $3,000 to $4,000 in asphalt, but concrete could be anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000. And the reason it's so high right now is that most U.S. concrete is being exported to China to assist them with their building boom. So the U.S. consumer, unfortunately, is going to have to pay more. But what I find, most city properties do have concrete while the suburbs have asphalt. So driveways in the city are usually connected to alleyways. So Fortunately, this keeps the amount of concrete to a minimum. Plus, 30, 40, maybe 50 years ago, the developer had to create the alleyway, so he poured the driveways at the same time. So, the worst thing that may happen is you might get some settlement, but dishevelment, which is separation of the pads, is pretty rare. So a concrete mason will be needed to be hired. They may tear out your driveway, but they also may subcontract that work to somebody else. So where asphalt uses a roller to kind of tamp it down and level things out, concrete needs to be screeded. And what they do is they set up forms on each side of the driveway. Then they use a 2x4 or a 2x6, and they actually I'll use the term shimmy that piece of lumber back and forth until they can get yourself a finished product. Now, don't forget to put in expansion joints, and that's basically a small cut into the concrete to allow for any type of movement. Now, when I did my driveway down the shore, I used pressure-treated 2x4s. And again, it was just a nice way to have a wood member in between the layers of concrete, and it kind of gave it a cool look. So with concrete, it does need to be expanded, hopefully without cracking. But I can tell you, folks, no mason can guarantee his concrete from cracking. So keep that in mind. So with concrete and asphalt driveways, I would not suggest that they be installed when the temperatures outside dip below 40 degrees at night. So the best driveways get installed typically between May and September. Coating for asphalt is about the same time frame. Now, kind of going to a tangent of concrete, there's something called stamped concrete. And this option is really gaining in popularity. And most concepts really look like flagstone, but there are other options available. And if your budget allows, ask for a quote and then make a decision. Basically, it gets installed the same way, but there's particular forms that get laid out over the concrete while it's wet, and they tamp this down, and it's a really cool look. But it is more pricey. So see what your budget allows. But the beauty of concrete, there's no real maintenance. The only thing that I ask that you do not do over the winter months, and we had a harsh winter last year, is put any type of rock salt over the concrete, as the sodium to this rock salt eats away at the face of the concrete, and spalling in or lifting of the finish will occur. So if you find things do get a little slippery, folks, use kitty litter. Okay. Finally, concrete can also be stained for a whole new look, and many people don't really know about that, but that's something I want to throw out. And so if you want your driveway to look a little bit different, you can always stain it. So the next topic I want to hit are called pavers. And you've probably seen this too. And, this is where they use individual bricks and or block pavers to create a look. And the foundation for pavers is sand. So, Curtis, if you're thinking pavers, again, we've got to strip everything out, but instead of stone and ballast, we're going to use a sand base this time. And then they do have to be laid creatively. So a border has to be created, and the sand is going to be moistened and tamped so that the process of laying, typically each roller begins slowly but methodically. But the beauty of pavers is that you can get a choice of color, layout, inlays, designs, and anything can be done. And only the imagination of the client, the contractor, and the wallet, and I have to include that last word, wallet, will make that final decision. So just like a good tile setter for your kitchen and bathroom, the mason who designs and installs your driveway should be a true expert, no doubt, because the designs that are embedded within the driveway need to be, they have to be centered, they have to be balanced, and there should be no significant gaps between the pieces. And I've seen, high-end homes where you'll see, I'm thinking like not a weather vane, but the north, south, east, and west with all the stars pointing in different directions, or inlay of the initial of their last name. And the work is truly incredible. My only concern is that if the person's last name is G and he sells his house to someone whose last name is H, he's going to be stuck with that for a while.
Right.
So give that some serious thought before you lay down the big bucks. Now, where asphalt can be done in 2 to 3 days with a 2 to 3 days of curing time, concrete's going to take probably 4 or 5 days with 2 days of curing time. A paver driveway can take several weeks. So depending on how complex you want this driveway to look. So you have to make sure you can ask the contractor about timetables, because depending on where you live, if you are at least a two-family or two-vehicle family, you've got to be able to park your car somewhere, and then you've got the technicians with the bulldozers and the equipment to put your driveway together. Now, back to the pavers, an elastomeric sand will then be spread and broomed into the joints to bind and tighten the pavers. And I always feel that it's a good idea to keep some of this elastomeric sand available because as we go through our weather patterns, and particularly with rain, this sand is going to settle down, and we want it to, between the pavers. So for the first probably 3, maybe 6 months of owning one of these driveways, you want to keep the broom and the sand handy, and then brush it in as you need it. But once it's in, it expands and really locks in the pavers. Steel and or vinyl trim will be installed around the perimeter of your driveway, and this will help retain the pavers and create a finished edge. And this edge trim will be held in place with 12-inch spikes. So depending if we have round edges, sharp edges, whatever your imagination desires, I personally like the vinyl trim because it's more flexible to do the job of what you're asking. So in closing, the driveway that we enter and park our vehicles, play basketball, skateboard, play roller hockey, takes a lot of abuse. If you care for it properly, this gateway to your home will bring plenty of pleasure through the years. So, Curtis, thanks for the email. And next week, by the way, we're going to talk on pre-listing inspections. Are they worth it? So, as it is Sunday, I wish you all the best, and please spend time with friends and family. And we'll see you next week on the House Whisperer Show.
Thank you very much, Jack. And tune in again next week for another edition of the House Whisperer Show with professional home inspector Jack Milne. To listen to previous programs, or if you have any questions, you can visit thehousewhisperershow.com, and you can listen to previous programs anywhere in the world. This is Barry Reisman. Thank you so much for listening to WWDB.